star. We see them twinkling so beautifully in the night sky, but do we ever wonder how they are created? More astoundingly, stars seem to grow old and experience changes in their physical shape, as does the human. After years, astrologists and scientists have seemed to work out the life cycle of a star, and it is very clear that what happens to them depends very much on their size. So how does the life cycle of a star compare to a human? Humans are not created overnight, ready to face the world the next day. We need to be nurtured, fed for energy and stimulation. This same process goes for the star. The star has its first stages of living in nurseries known as stellar nurseries, which consist mainly of molecular clouds. The baby star is known as a protostar. This protostar is then within a cloud of gas, known more famously as a nebula, the birthplace of a star. Through time, a baby grows to become a small child and then into a teenager. These are the three prominent phases we go through before we hit the adult stage of our life, the peak of our lifetime. This system applies to the star when it is in the nebula and is growing into a full star. The star holds the same equivalence as our adults. Mind-blowing, isn't it? As mentioned before, stars do grow old, just like humans, and then eventually die out. Depending on the size of the star, they can die in different ways. Although the most common sequence is the star turning into a red giant, then into a red dwarf, then into a white dwarf, and finally exploding into a supernova, leaving behind neutron stars or black holes. These changes happen as the size starts to expand and the temperature starts to increase. Larger stars may have a lifespan of up to millions of years as they have to burn hydrogen fuel faster, but smaller stars have lifespans of over billions of years as they burn the fuel quicker. The mass of the star starts to increase to becoming the same as our sun when it reaches the white dwarf stage. The light may or may not become brighter than our sun, yet the diameter is quite small, measuring to approximately 1% of that of our sun. Finally, the star gains a brightness of over 100 million suns in a short period of time and then explode, the death of a star. Supernovae are considered to be the main sources of elements heavier than hydrogen and helium. Unlike the star, humans don't have the same characteristics of an aging star, but we nonetheless still grow old. Our body becomes frail and we begin to grow weak and in some ways more defenseless. As our age increases, our body begins to grow weaker once we reach a certain age. That age varies from everybody. We may be diagnosed with some sort of disease, or we may break our bones, but through time, there will be a time where we all fall into an endless sleep, in oblivion, and never wake up. That is when the human dies. The star really does differ its life cycle to a human, as each phase of life has its unique characteristics to one another. Each physical change is so important, and those changes are not necessarily relatable to humans. We need food as our fuel for life, whereas the star needs hydrogen gas as its fuel. Although it is truly incredible of how there are aspects that the star can relate to the human as, like the fact that they too grow old, experience age, and then die.